so many people in the world are being coldly, calculatedly manipulated into a false self-identity that this is who we are. No, this is what we're experiencing. I'm not David Icke. I am infinite consciousness having an experience called David Icke. That's not who I am. And what we do, and we're manipulated to do, is to identify with little me by identifying with the reflection in the mirror, instead of looking through the eyes into the true self. And when you move your point of attention so powerfully into something, you can disconnect an awareness of anything peripheral or anything beyond it. And people from cradle to grave, because of the way the system works, are constantly encouraged and pressured to focus on five sense reality alone. And if we do that, then we can lose contact, lose connection, lose the relationship between that which is experiencing and that which is the real self, the infinite self. And these people, this network of manipulators who've hoarded ancient knowledge and advanced knowledge of reality, have created a structure specifically to disconnect humanity from an awareness of its true, infinite, genius, all possibility self.
Right. They don't want people to wake up.
Exactly.
And to be aware.
They don't.
They do not.
Because if you're a few, and I tell you, if you're talking about people in full awareness of what they're doing, the number of people who are manipulating 7 billion is extraordinarily small. So much so that they have to recruit from the target population people to impose their will upon the target population. This is law enforcement. These are the dark suit administrators of government and business and corporation. And because of the way they've structured society as like Russian dolls, one doll inside a bigger doll inside a bigger doll, in this case, a smaller pyramid inside a bigger pyramid inside a bigger pyramid, it means that the vast majority of people who are every day going to work, not to manipulate the world, but to try to earn a living for their family and give them a good life and all that stuff, they're doing that without knowing what they're contributing to, that they're actually contributing every day to their own enslavement and to their children and grandchildren's enslavement. And this is achieved by compartmentalization. In the simplest way, it's what intelligence agencies call the need to know technique. People go to work in these pyramids and they make their contribution, but they don't know how that contribution connects with that one and 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 that one to create a very different picture. Only they know that. And this is how the few manipulate the many to enslave themselves. But we are on the cusp, it's very clear, of an extraordinary awakening as people are going, oh my God, I see it now. It's not like I thought it was. No, it's not. So what are we going to do about it?
What would you say to the people who are, those people who are not awake and just go through the changes every day of just going to work, and they're feeling completely lost and afraid as all the countries are shifting and changing and the money's being sourced out and the work is being sourced out from their country, such as here in America?
Well, see,
we're in an incredible amount of shift, and nobody is really telling anybody really what's going on.
Well, I can explain what's going on immediately from the examples you've given. I mean, not only can I explain what's going on now, I was explaining what was coming 15, 16 years ago in my books, and that's one of the big reasons that so many people are now coming to look at my work. Like, you know, couldn't get a ticket in New York, and I went to the Czech Republic. I was in the country for three days, never been there before, did a talk that was translated with the audience through having earphones, translations. Absolutely couldn't believe how many people came. There is a global awakening going on. And what is happening to America, to understand it, some dots need to be connected. And this is very important. This is what I do. I connect dots. Because you can look at a dot like a banking system, look at another dot, the crash of September 2008, you look at another dot, 9/11, another dot, Barack Obama, and each dot is kind of interesting. But people are bewildered because they think, well, yeah, but what does it mean? When you realize what the agenda is, it's like an open book. And the agenda is this. There's a multi-level agenda, but let's keep it to what we're talking about here. When you're a few and you want to control the many, you have to centralize decision-making. The more diversity of decision-making there is, the less control any few at the center can have. When there's a few of you, and in terms of full knowledge and awareness of what they're doing, it is a few, and you want to control the many, in this case 7 billion, then you have to centralize decision-making. The more diversity of decision-making there is, the less control any few at the center are going to have. So now, a few bureaucrats, not even elected people in Europe, bureaucrats, are dictating to the whole of Europe, every country, and the power of the countries to decide their own destiny is virtually, it's petering out. It's virtually non-existent now. 75% of laws in Britain start out in Brussels, not London.
Really?
Right, and this is where they want America to go. Now, what they're heading towards, well, what they want, is the ultimate global centralization, because then they've got what they would see as the ultimate global centralization of power. They want a world government which would dictate to every country. They want a world central bank that would dictate to all global finance in every country. They want a world currency, which in the end wouldn't be cash, and that's going out of circulation so fast. They want a electronic single world currency, right, for which there are fundamental implications for freedom, because if you go into a store now, Victoria, with electronic money, and that computer says no to your card, you say, well, I'll pay cash then. What about when there's no cash and that says no? You have no way of purchasing except barter. And that's the idea, control. Because those that challenge the system will very quickly go off the Christmas card list of the computer, So
and
they
food and medicine will be also controlled.
Yeah, medicine, yeah, but I mean, if they could control what we call modern medicine and keep it out of my life, which I do, then I would be very, very happy.
Absolutely.
But we'll get into that as we go along. But the other thing they want is a world army. And the creation of NATO is a stepping stone to that. They want a world army. They're looking for a European army now, which this is all part of the stepping stone process. And I talked to a journalist once, and he said, well, why would they want a world army? There'd be no one to fight, And I thought, yeah, you're a journalist, aren't you? Because what the world army's for is to impose the will of the world government on countries that don't want to accept it. And the other point in this list, they want a microchipped population. Now, this comes back now to America. If you want a world government dictatorship, you cannot have any superpowers with the military and financial might to say no to you. Imagine if there was a world government through this period of America, through the 20th century, and the world government said to America, you're going to do this, we've decided it. America could say, no, we're not. So what they're doing systematically is destroying America militarily, all these kind of what they call theaters of war. It's a lovely name, theaters of war, because it's all a bloody movie, really. And right, they are destroying America financially on purpose. This is what it's all about.
So they'll be dependent related.
Yeah, to bring America to its knees so it can be absorbed into this world dictatorship. I've been saying for years and years in my books, they are using America to destroy America. Now, what is happening is they are preparing for global specializations, because when you've got a country and you say, okay, there's coal mines there and the manufacturing there and agriculture there, but that's how the country's laid out. Well, I've seen documents, the early documents for the European Union, and they were setting out in Europe before anything which countries were going to specialize in what. And when you see it, then you see what's happened since, and how industries in this country have been run down and things in that country have been lifted up. It's just playing out the blueprint. For instance, it designated Britain not as a manufacturing economy, which we always had been, making things, nor even an agricultural economy, which we all been doing, lots of farmland, growing food for the people, self-sufficiency and stuff. Nor, staggeringly, it's an island, Britain was not going to specialize in fishing either. That was going to be other countries of Europe. What has happened since, just to finish the point, what Britain was going to specialize in this European economy, which we weren't even kind of involved in at the time, was finance and what they call service industries, serving other, industries without actually being those industries. That is precisely what has happened in Britain. The agriculture's been run down, the coal mines have been closed, or the mines have been closed. I think, I'm not too bad about that, because I think people going under the ground doing that is just horrible, but they've closed that. And they've run down the fishing industry on an island nation to almost destruction, exactly as these papers said decades and decades and decades ago. Now, what they're doing in America now is something similar. So this is where outsourcing comes from. What they decided in the European Union was all these other countries where labor costs were lower, they were going to do all the manufacturing. Now, you take that to a world level, because it's the same blueprint they want to take that I've just described in the European Union to the world. They're moving the manufacturing to parts of the world that are much cheaper in terms of wages and sweatshops and all that stuff. And that's what the outsourcing's about.